Welcome to Bassmaster Radio, presented by Phoenix Boats, the show for fishermen by fishermen. Today's show is brought to you by Enigma Fishing. Cast, catch, repeat. Visit Anderson, South Carolina, home of beautiful Lake Hartwell. Phoenix Boats, experience the difference. And by the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society. Now, here's lifetime BASS member Thom Abraham.
And welcome back, Phoenix Boats Bassmaster Radio. And now a chance to talk to a guy that he's one of the most fascinating guys on the tour, to be quite honest with you. You know, he had a very popular win last year, a couple of years ago on tour as well in Cookson at Lake 10 Killer in 2019 at the Cherokee Casino tournament down there. And he's done a great job. And he had a very good tournament at Guntersville, finishing 13th. Then he went and cleaned the joint up, which I think is really, really cool. And he joins us now, Carl Jacobsen. Carl, welcome back to the show, brother. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks for having us on. It's been a hectic couple months on the road, but we've got a couple weeks off now and getting things cleaned up. It's been good.
Yeah. And we'll get to that in a moment. The schedule, the nature of the schedule too, the way it sets up, and the fact that guys are gonna have basically almost half a year off after half a year of going almost every week. But first, let's talk a little bit about what you did on Guntersville the first 3 days of the tournament, and not the fourth day. A 13th place finish. You are an official Tennessee River rat, living up on Chickamauga Lake now. So this is just a couple of lakes down for you, and Guntersville has been pretty good to you.
Yeah, it's been an incredible lake. That was my second ever elite tournament in 2015, and actually caught them a very similar way to back then. I think I finished sixth in 2015. And I think we've been there 4 times, and I think I've had like a top 20 almost every time. So Guntersville, I don't know, it just clicks with me. You can kind of do so many things there, so you can fish your strengths. And I had a live camera on day one, and I think it was 12:30 in the afternoon. I had 3 for like barely 5 pounds, and I was due in at 2:40. Things were not looking good. I just came off a really bad finish at Nickajack. That's about as pressure-filled as you can get. I'm still sort of fighting for my Elite Series berth, just because I've had such an up-and-down career. Like, I'm at one end or the other. And so I really couldn't have another bad one, and figured them out and started catching them. And I rode that bite right through the whole tournament and ended up with 40th and then 18th after day 2, and then jumped up to 13th. Just missed that 10 cut.
In 2015, you had 81 pounds and finished 6th. 81 pounds, you would have been pushing for the win, this go-around. But I'm not one that says that, Guntersville is down. I just think that there's still great numbers of fish. There are a lot of 5-pounders. We're just not seeing the big 8-pounders, as much. But what do you see different in Guntersville, other than, the water clarity? Maybe that has a lot to do with it. But what is different about Guntersville now than what it was like, in the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, there's just more places for them to get with the grass. So there's unbelievable amount of eelgrass that runs out to 10 feet. And now there's beautiful milfoil, there's hydrilla, and then all of the offshore spots. And I think it's just that the fish can't get in a won't get in a concentration as much as they used to, because there's just too much good water for them to be in, and that's kind of a good thing. It's protecting those fish, because the lake gets so much pressure that it's really going to help it down the track, because those fish are able to get away and escape a little bit from the fishing pressure. And that's just why I think the weights are down a little bit for that reason. But you're going to see them come back in a big way. But a lake can't keep sustaining that kind of pressure and those kind of weights without something giving. And the grass has really changed it more than anything. It's just split those fish up. It's harder to get on a big school and just smash them. And then also for me, with the jig bite that I get on those bridges, in 15, I had so many fish coming through those bridges. Even though they were very pressured and hard to catch, there was just hundreds and hundreds of fish moving through there. And so now they're doing the same thing, but there's just not as many because they don't really have to go through that bridge and go to the back. They can spawn anywhere they want, like along the bank, because they can get some protection from that grass.
Yeah, Carl Jacobsen with me. If you didn't know, I mean, this is a voice that when you hear him talking, you know which angler we're talking to when we're talking to Carl Jacobsen. That's for sure. Yeah, you mentioned the way your career has been. I mean, you got hot for a minute last year. You know, after the 15th place at Guntersville, you were second at Santee Cooper, and here comes Carl. We're making that run, but you had those 3 rough tournaments before that. It has been kind of an all or nothing thing for you, isn't it? I mean, it seems like the key for you is to figure out a way to finish 30th. You know what I mean? It's like you're either in the top 15 or you're struggling, you know, and you got to get those points tournaments, right?
I know, that's the one thing that I got to figure out, and then I thought that this was going to be my year. You know, everything in fishing, the one thing I believe we all chase is consistency, and it's one of the toughest things to get. I've got to figure out how to save those days, like what I did at Guntersville. You know, I saved that tournament late in the day, and it almost could have been a disaster, and instead I made an adjustment and was able to, you know, catch 14 pounds, and instead it could have been a real disaster. And so I've got to figure out how, like, to have those bad things. If I have a bad one, it's a 50th, a 40th, a 30th. That's a bad one. You know, that's the good guys. They've figured out how to do that. Just coming from another country, you know, really, it's my 10th, 11th year here. That is kind of a long time, but it's not really. Like, I haven't lived anywhere for a long amount of time. I haven't spent a long amount of time on any particular lake. Like, I've just bounced around and learnt on the fly as I go. And so I'm always constantly running into a new fishery, a new, a new circumstance that's coming up. And what you saw this year is, like, I'd have phenomenal practice and be so excited to get out there, and would get 10 inches of rain the day before the tournament. That happened twice. And you know, my sort of biggest nemesis are those drastic changes through a practice. I feel like I can break down a lake as good as anyone, and I'm always excited to go to a new lake. But when I get 2 or 3 days on a lake and then a drastic change happens like that, it falls into the hands of people that have lived there a long time or seen it a million times before. That's when it helps them, and it really hurts me, and I've got to figure out how to make those adjustments, because that happens all the time. It's a huge part of the sport. It's not something that only happens every now and again, but you'll notice most of my good finishes are when the weather and conditions stay consistent just through that week, just a little bit.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Carl Jacobsen with us. 60th in the points now, moving up the list, though. It wouldn't take much to move up into the top 50 for sure, and certainly I think your spot would be secure on the Elite Series. I mean, I think that's you made that comment on stage, and it was a little bit disconcerting for a moment. And I looked at the points, and I'm like, oh, he's okay. He'll be fine. But, we'll see what happens when you get to New York. Now, tell me about the cleanup. When did this come into your head that, you know what, I'm going to spend Championship Sunday not sleeping in a camper with my new wife. I'm going to go out and pick up garbage. I mean, what was up with that?
It's something that I've always done. You know, I've always picked up anyone's rubbish. My live wells are generally about half full of trash after a 3-day practice on a lake. I can't stand to just see anything floating. It's hard for me to pass up anything that's just right there. If I hook fishing line, I bring it in and put it away, someone else's stuff. And, we got just talking to Kayla. I've always wanted to do more and give back to a lake. Sometimes I don't like that we come into a lake and fish it for a week and then we leave, put a lot of pressure on it. I always wanted to have a way, like Bassmaster and everyone gives back to the communities and the town and the fisheries, and I was just like, I want to do something where we give back even if we stay back one day. And I just have noticed on Chickamauga and some of the Tennessee lakes, it's very frustrating to see some of the trash that gets left behind, that gets washed into the lake. And then people are just sort of fishing around it like it's not even there, and it just really bothers me. And then, you can't let something bother you and then not do anything about it. And I said to Kayla, and we both spoke, and I said, no matter what happens this week, whether I come dead last or we make Sunday, we're staying back and doing a clean-up on Monday or whichever day it is. And Kayla went out and got all the supplies and garbage bags and sort of bought everything. And the main sort of areas are where there's either, unfortunately it is some anglers that are on the bank, but it's where like traffic and stuff crosses these lakes. And we got up, I've been fishing for 6 days straight. My alarm clock had been set for 3:50 every morning and off the lake at 8 o'clock at night and in bed by 10:30 and then a 3:50 alarm clock. And we got up early on the Sunday morning and worn out, and we just went driving and we parked at each bridge and walked down, and it was really overwhelming when we got down there. It was something that I wasn't really ready for. In 10 minutes, I filled 2 giant garbage bags. I didn't move. I moved in about a 10-yard radius. And it was upsetting. But also at the same time, Kayla come back and she was super upset as well. And I just couldn't believe it. And then when we started getting into it, in about an hour, we had one bridge entirely clean, like line, like bottom, everything you can possibly imagine, and it was basically spotless. And that was just me and Kayla. Right. And then we got over the sort of emotional side of it where it seemed overwhelming, like this is just too much, to like, holy heck, look at the difference just 2 of us made. Right. And so then we went to the next bridge and we did it again. And then we started running into people, and that's when I realized, locals were seeing us doing it, and then it made them want to do it, and they couldn't believe that we were down there doing it, and we don't even live on that lake. I'm not from this country, but I don't live on that lake. And they were sort of, why are you cleaning up this lake? And I said, well, it shouldn't matter. I'm like, we all get to use it. Like, we should just be doing our part. And people asked us for garbage bags. They wanted to go and clean up some other areas. And, we made a difference just in 5 people, just in that time that we were doing it. Yeah. And then when we posted it on social media, that's when we really saw that we can make a huge difference.
Tremendous stuff. Great stuff. His catchphrase is "Fear my heart," but his heart is bigger than fishing. It's a big heart to go out there and do that on a Sunday after a long, grueling tournament. Carl Jacobsen has been our guest. Carl, I appreciate you so much. Good luck up north, man. I know that you're going to keep climbing in the standings.
Yep, thanks, mate. Really looking forward to getting up there. 2 great fisheries, and excited to get the season back going.
All right, thank you, Carl Jacobsen. All right, we're going to get a break in here. When we come back, the Rapala Winner's Circle, Caleb Kufal will join us next off his win at Guntersville right here on Phoenix Boats Bassmaster Radio on the Bassmaster Radio Network.